I think we live in an era specifically now where things like emotional attachment and being emotionally there are actually a thing. I think millennial and younger fathers are probably the most involved and have been showing up in ways that historically would not be seen as necessary. Like somebody was joking, like men even be at the baby showers nowadays, and that wasn't a thing in the past, you know. And and I don't think it would be just financially would be the reason that they just showed up financially and took care of everything. I think in the past, the men they're talking about more than likely showed up financially and didn't show up in the other ways. And that could have been the thing that created the like he was talking about in the video, it created the detachment, and the broken men created more broken men because whatever they was dealing with, they had to be quiet and somber and deal with wholly and just keep that to themselves and keep they game face on and remain stoic. I think when people talk about strong men, a lot of that boils down to the stoicism that's require of men of the past that younger men are starting to reject and become vocal about different things and how they affect them emotionally, and people view that as weakness or being emotional or being feminine. So they're relating men speaking about how they feel in every various facet of the world to men being sassy and then calling them weak behind that. But I agree with Lady Di point earlier about men needing to protect and take care of themselves, and that needing to be a skill that's evident. And I think competence breeds confidence, which creates the feeling that you could protect your woman, your kids, and the people around you. And to Miss Taking point, I think it's bred from just different versions of survival, and that survival is a biological thing. I think is wired in women specifically to select men that can do or that they perceive can do things that'll ensure the survival of their offspring.
I think when my pushback only to what Miss Lady Di was saying was that we do place a lot of emphasis on what would be called the warrior class. The physicality of men is just baked in our DNA. That's just there. But again, most dudes do not know how to fight. It's not a necessary skill. Most men can go their entire life and never have to throw a punch. This is just statistically. Go ahead, Marcus.
What percentage of men do you think know how to fight?
I'd say less than 10. Easy. Less than.
All right. What percentage of men do you think
fighting, or you just mean if you just happen to get into a brawl with somebody?
Say that again. Say that again, Miss Taking.
So do you mean in terms of men who have been trained to fight, or are you referring to just your average Joe who happened to get into a street fight, don't know how to fight?
I'll say both. Most dudes have not been in street fights. Most dudes have never had to throw a punch. That's why I'm saying it's like, I know that this may be a phenomenon, but most guys, this is why out of all of the physical sports, UFC, boxing have the highest level of views because it's such a phenomenon. You do not see men exchange blows on a regular basis. The most contact they have will be on a football field. So fighting is a very foreign thing to most dudes. Shoving, talking mess, and they break. Actually going blow for blow, most dudes don't do that. So I say
so they may not do it. Yeah, I was gonna say they may not do it at this current point, but I feel like growing up from the youth to teenage years, that especially from our back in the day, our generation, we was probably for sure fighting, and or at least had one, so you had to learn how to defend yourself, and that skill it creates an air of confidence. I think that's what the ladies were speaking to, and I was saying that the reason I asked you the percentage is we talk about the number of men that are actually attracted to women. I wonder, does that percentage have a lot to do with the attraction? Because if they say only 20-30% of men are attractive and women want men who can protect in that way, could that be more of a factor? Because they'll be like, they don't like Pookie and Ray Ray, but Pookie and Ray Ray get all the women because Pookie and Ray Ray carry themselves like XYZ. And the men who don't operate like that are turnoffs to a lot of women.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I was trying to correlate.
I think it does correlate. I think it is perceived
as masculine.
Yeah, maybe perception, because again, this is the look. I was in the military. I grew up in the same neighborhood y'all grew up in. We can go run it back. How often do you remember a school fight breaking out? Like how often it happened?
I mean,
But
a lot.
yeah,
I fought like
I
every
went to
day.
West Side High, so it was like the first day
Yeah.
I went, it was like at least 5 fights. Like
And I went to
off rip.
Shabazz and Orange
I
High.
was yeah.
What's
Newark, New
But
Jersey.
once
They
you
fought
think
all the
about
time
it,
where
even
we
at
from.
schools like that, that was mostly girls. I mean, I went
No.
to one of them schools too. It
No,
was
I
a
saw.
fight every single day. Remember the school?
You tripping? The
Listen,
girls got
They
busy.
not
high
from Essex
school,
County,
it was
Trev.
mostly
We had
ghetto
they don't
ratchet
know what the
girls.
hell's going on.
What's
What?
another
What y'all
student
talking
thing?
about?
Like if you even
That
look,
shit was like jail. We got frisked before we went in school. Like
We
it was
literally had metal detectors in front of Shabazz.
and got frisks. Like they went through our bags up and down, our crotches, paws, all that shit. We got frisked every day before we went to school. That shit was like jail.
Yeah, it was going down in my school too.
It was
off of Madison. So
likewise, but I'm not dismissing what you're saying, Marcus. I've always supported that men should be optimal, and what I mean by optimal is they should explore all measures of what it is to be a man. There should be some physicality. You should know how to change a tire. You should know how to basically throw a punch. You should know how to use and get somebody off you. But when we talking about fighting and knowing how to really do this, most dudes do not know how to fight. It just don't go down like that. I'm like,
No, I believe you. I do. I don't even have an argument against that. I think the percentage has went down dramatically from what it was for sure. Because like fighting was a normal thing. Like it wouldn't, even if it didn't become a bloody mess, it was just like, okay, y'all scrap. Y'all might even piece it up afterwards, but dudes did know how to scrap, right? Listen, I was in a fight club when I was in elementary school. So like, yes, I've always been like, and not because I wanted to fight, but because it was like, yo, you have to protect yourself because it literally was a jungle out there. There was an 80% chance of me walking my route home that I would get robbed if I couldn't fight. That's just what it is. Like, that's what it was. Like, that's not no bullshit.
And
so
to add on,
we kind of had to.
And to add on to that, I don't do it as much now, but I 100% I still kind of do it, but for a different reason. You assess men when you meet them, like, yeah, you're not like that. This would be easy if I had to. And I think the same thing we seeing, women see too. That's essentially the point.
I think that that's a very big problem. I think that a lot of the issues do come from a lack of emotional connection. Essentially, I guess if we're going to say that the men that lack an emotional connection with their fathers are weak men, then that would mean the weak men are the men with the ideology that their manhood is tied to their wallet. That seems to be what a lot of men think in general. I don't see the need to have a discussion about like if men can fight, because for me personally, that particular subject is something that kind of like is sensitive for me, because I had a big brother and he could fight and he could shoot, and it didn't get him far. It got him killed. So you knowing how to fight and you knowing how to shoot doesn't mean anything, because the man that knows that you know how to fight and shoot is the man that's going to shoot you in the back of the head. So you won't have a chance to fight him and you won't have a chance to shoot. So with that being said, I just kind of don't even want to like address that part of the conversation. And my personal opinion is just that a lot of men kind of complain about women not wanting to like relinquish majority of the parenting to let the father parent. But what I kind of see a lot of times is that men tend to already think that their manhood is wrapped up in like a very small percentage of things, which is their sex life and their wallet. So it's like, why would I relinquish my son to be taught that from the male perspective? Because that seems to be where a lot of fathers congratulate their sons, when they make their first six figures and when they lose their virginity. And I don't, me personally, I wouldn't want my son to think that that is what makes him a man, that that's the equivalent of his manhood. I think that men should kind of like be more open to the idea of it being okay to be like emotional with each other. So it's not us teaching y'all how to be emotional, it's y'all teaching y'all how to be emotional in a manly way. You know what I'm saying? Because the only emotion that I kind of see from men a lot of times is just like anger. And so when they're scared, they're angry. When they're angry, they're angry. When they're depressed, they're angry. And it's like, if men that know how to regulate their emotions taught their sons, then like that continues and it just kind of keeps going forward. That's just what I would like to see personally.
So, Smith, you made some excellent points. That was well said. I think at the same time, though, I think women sometimes have led to these men's superficial desires as well. I mean, because once upon a time, men weren't as materialistically driven as they are now, and a lot of these material demands of what you got to be superficially has come from their female counterparts in their community. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with what you were saying. But I think ultimately, if we look at the way our community has moved, it seems like you will lose emotional intelligence at the expense of being war torn and knowing certain physical attributes. And then if you're emotionally intelligent, is at the expense of the physicality. So I guess we just got to find a way to, like Trace said, True said, you have to kind of be a more of a holistic man. It can't just be one way. You know, you have to know how to defend and have the intelligence to not really be in that situation in the first place. But I agree with a lot of things that Bougie said, and that's most of the dudes from where I'm from. The most realest dudes get killed. So it's like knowing how to fight is really something that's beneficial for you as a man than it is in the grand scheme of things, because most fights don't just pop off when you're out in public. Brawls pop off, big huge things pop off. It's never just you shooting a fade with somebody in the parking lot. And most of the times, like Bougie said, in the hood, when you are feared, when you can use your hands, it's like the dude who getting money eventually said they're gonna try to rob you. So it's like we got to be honest about this so-called skill set. I think the skill set that's lacking in the black community with young men is a mental one.